12 months ago, though, we lost Greedy Smith, the much-loved frontman of Mental as Anything. He died suddenly from a heart attack at the age of 63, but his legacy, well, particularly his music, certainly lives on.
Oh, yeah, and our ABC colleague Jason Daisy recorded some of the last interviews with Greedy and struck up quite a friendship too.
I became a mate over the last 3 months of his life. And yes, I did record some of the last interviews that he ever did. But there's a bit of a story to this. Greedy Smith and I went to the same school. Greedy was a few years ahead of me.
Yeah.
And you know how anyone who's gone to a school, there's always someone famous who has gone to the school and you talk about. So we talk about Greedy Smith and Alan Border because they were both in the same class.
Oh, yeah.
A few years ahead of me. So I was organising a reunion for our class and I thought, okay, I'm going to go for Alan Border. So I sent a nice email to Alan Border, heard back. He said, look, I'm sorry I can't make it. I'm in Brisbane now, blah, blah, blah. So then I focused on Greedy Smith. And I only got Greedy Smith on the day of the reunion itself.
Oh, really?
And he said, look, come and meet for a coffee. So I met for a coffee. He said, oh, I'd love to do it. I'd love to be a guest speaker for the reunion. But he said, I can't do it. I've got a gig. And he was playing gigs. He was playing 100 gigs a year for the last 40 years. But he left a lovely video tribute to the class. And as a result, we became mates over the last 3 months of his life. And we recorded 2 long-form interviews. And we were talking about doing projects together. And it was such a shock, when he left us at the age of 63, as you mentioned, Craig, on the 2nd December 2019, a year ago.
Yeah, and that friendship really seemed to develop, not just, reminiscing about school days, but really a love of music.
A love of music, a love of politics, a love of real estate. I mean, Greedy was very, very well read. He loved books. And I actually gave him the last book he ever read because we'd always exchange WhatsApps and text messages. We'd meet up and talk about music. And he actually pointed out that the 3 iconic bands, In Excess, Midnight Oil, and Mental as Anything, all played their first gig with their classic lineup on the same night. The reason they know that, it was the night that Elvis died, August the 16th, 1977. And this was an amazing feat, that these 3 iconic bands were playing in Sydney on the same night. And so I was reading a book on Glenn Shorrock, and there was actually a picture of Glenn Shorrock reading a newspaper saying Elvis is dead, and it was in an airport in the US, and I took a picture of it, sent it to Greedy and said, this is what LRB were doing, Little River Band, Glenn Shorrock. So then we met up about 3 weeks before he died, and I gave him the book. And believe it or not, that book, the Glenn Shorrock autobiography, was buried along with him, also his harmonica and the Best of Mental's signed CD in his coffin.
Oh, wow.
Open to page 26. And I know this because I've become friends with his fiancée, Fiona Docker, and she told me that. So I was absolutely stunned that this had happened like that.
And Jason, did you speak to him long before he died?
I was actually away. I was doing a gig. I was hosting an event in Hong Kong. And a couple of days before he died, he sent me a message because I said, Greedy, now you're singing the songs of Martin Plaza because he'd left the group because of his health, issues. Greedy was the only original classic member left. And I looked it up on YouTube and looked at the band and I said, this band's incredible and you're singing the Martin Plaza songs so well. And he sent me a text message and you know what it said? He said, I'm a lucky guy. And that was the last message that I ever got from him. That was on the Friday. And he died on the Monday.
Oh, was he sick? I mean, he had a heart attack. Were there problems there?
Well, a lot of the band always said he was one of the healthiest ones. He didn't really party much. In fact, one of the times we met up, he was going to run there because he loved jogging. So he's very conscious about his health, his fitness, and he loved food. His nickname Greedy was because one time he ate 15 pieces of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and Reg Mombassa, the lead guitarist for the Mental as Anything, gave him that nickname. And he loved the nickname. He had a great sense of humor. And the thing about Greedy was he was always interested in you. And I guess you guys can relate. When you're a teenager, when I loved the music of Mental as Anything, I bought that album, Get Wet, in 1979. And it was one of the first Australian albums I ever bought. And because, this was he was from my school and, that was that age, I always loved Mental as Anything and Greedy Smith. And just like you two, being a broadcaster, I've interviewed prime ministers and world leaders. But the people who really kind of grab you when you're young, you kind of always sort of follow them. I love Dennis Lilly, the cricket player,
so
Doug Walters as well. Yeah. Well, of course, I'm sure you did. So there was something about Greedy Smith. I only knew him for 3 months, but he made a massive impression on me.
You said you became friends with Fiona, his fiancée, as well. Have you had much contact with her?
Yes, I've been talking to Fiona. Of course, I haven't seen her because of COVID. Haven't been down to where I'm from, Sydney, the whole year. But she's shared some really interesting things. She said that Greedy loved Norfolk Island. and they did some gigs there, Mental as Anything. So Fiona has the plan to scatter the ashes of Greedy Smith at Norfolk Island over sometime in 2021. And this Sunday, there's going to be a Greedy lunch in Sydney with a lot of the former members, their partners and friends, music industry friends. So he had such an impression on so many people. And as I said, I didn't know him for that long, but I'm just so grateful to know him.
The ABC's Jason Daisy paying tribute to his friend Andrew Greedy Smith, who passed away 12 months ago from a heart attack at the age of 63, but leaving behind such incredible music like this one. It's Live It Up from Mental as Anything.